I got a text today from a young actress who was very upset. It seems that her agent, after 2 years of not doing anything for her, dumped her. And she was upset and naturally felt the rejection and the aloneness that comes with an event like that. And I had to tell her, and I didn't mean to be tough about it, but I've been in this business a long time and I got a thick skin now, that young actors tend to make agents gods, and agents are not gods. Okay? They're not even really very powerful people until they've been in it for a lot of years and done a lot of major, major work and parlayed their careers into production. But actors forget that we don't work for them, they work for us. And there are a lot of them out there. Now, I love agents. Don't get me wrong. I've had wonderful agents. Never had really powerful, A-list, hard-hitting, having lunch with the producers and the commissary, powerful agents. But wonderful agents, worked hard, got me a lot of stuff on certain levels, and I'm grateful to them. But young actors starting out go, I got to get an agent, I got to get an agent. And then, you get an agent, I hope they send me out. Agents have a hard time. You have to give the agent something to sell. You are the product, you have to give them something to sell. Find that thing about you that is unique and build on it. That is what every actor has ever done. Find that one thing that you can look at objectively, without being personal about yourself, and say, yeah, that's good. That is the horse that I will ride. Okay, that's enough on that. I'll pick that up with another video later on. But right now I want to tell you a story. And it's a true story. It's a theme of resilience and self-love versus betrayal and adversity. And this is a story of a guy who saw it all coming apart in front of him. And there was nothing he could do. We pick it up at Ford's Theater in Washington, D.C., notorious setting for the assassination of the great President Abraham Lincoln. Max and Lila, two actors, had driven down from New York City to perform in a musical version of a story of a famous pirate. Max was the male lead. With two little girls, their daughter 4 and Lila's daughter 10, they checked into a hotel for the 6-week run of the play. Now, the producers had cast Lila as the friend of the female lead, and she pretended to be happy but secretly hated that she was in second position. But a job is a job, and she and Max needed the work. So after checking in and having dinner, Max left the family that night just after bedtime to walk over to the theater, take a look around, and watch the set being built. Hammers echoed as he stepped into the dark, empty lobby and found himself alone with his imagination in the famed historical surroundings. No one seemed aware he was there. Noise came from inside the theater where the stage crew was intent on construction under the work lights. He walked into the theater and looked around. It was like stepping into 1865. He glanced up to the balcony and spied the presidential box, draped in red, white, and blue bunting. The box where the deadly deed had been done. Max climbed the stairs to the upper hallway and tried the door to the presidential box. Locked. Not to be deterred, he went down into the balcony, walked to the railing, peeked around the corner that separated the box from the audience. The chair that Lincoln had sat in faced the stage as if the president were still sitting there calmly watching the play, and to his right, the seat where his wife had also enjoyed the play. Up to a point. Carefully, holding onto the dividing wall, he stood on the railing and slipped around the edge and stepped down into the box. And there he was, alone with history. Max lowered himself slowly down into the chief of state's plush, striped, satin-covered armchair, alone. Sitting in the very seat where Abraham Lincoln, the 16th President of the United States, was brutally murdered, he watched the scene below. The blue-jean, t-shirted crew guys were oblivious to him and laboring under the bright lights, but Max was solitary, incognito in the shadowy privacy of the silent theater box. He could almost hear the soft rustling of ghosts stirring around him. It gave him a little bit of a chill. The distance from the apron of the box to the stage seemed a lot more than the 15 feet he had heard about. Little wonder that John Wilkes Booth, in leather-heeled boots, leaping down on the hard oak floor of the stage below, broke his ankle. But the innate narcissistic conceit of a born actor clearly overrode the excruciating pain he must have felt as he took the time to pose in the limelight and boldly pronounce "Sic semper tyrannis," the supposedly heroic proclamation he had no doubt rehearsed many times prior to the great moment. And then, before a shocked, horrified cast and audience, he limped off the stage into infamy. Actors will be such hams. And the show must go on. So Max sat, enjoying his cleverness for a few moments, soaking in the satisfaction of having pulled off something that none of his friends, nor a lifetime of acquaintances, had ever done, would ever do, or even dream of doing. It was a warm feeling of accomplishment. It was something he could one day tell his grandchildren. And then suddenly, he sensed the door open behind him, and he felt someone creeping slowly toward his back, a revolver aimed at his head. Chills ran up his spine, and he felt his hair stand on end. He jumped up out of the chair and spun around to defend himself, but saw only the other empty chairs in the darkness. Mary Lincoln seemed to glare up at him from her seat. He wasted no time in retracing his steps onto the precarious railing, carefully around the dividing wall, hurried up through the balcony, down to the lobby, and out into the empty darkness of Washington's 10th Street. His heart was pounding. He walked quickly back to the hotel through warm, humid night air and felt like he had been cursed. It wasn't until he reached the brightly lit lobby that the ghostly feeling of chill and death began to leave him. But "Sic semper tyrannis" rang in his imagination, and it haunted his dreams that night. And it served him right. The pirate play went very well. The audience loved it, but its progress was, well, not without its ego-driven intrigues. Lila, forgetting herself a little and secretly longing for the lead role, began subtly but openly flirting with the writer-producer of the show in hopes of advancement. This caused friction between her and Max, as well as resentment in the cast, particularly with the leading lady, who happened to be that man's wife. Tensions culminated one night at a party where Lila, who seldom drank, wound up loaded on wild turkey and got too loose. Max suggested they leave. There was an argument. Max pointed out her behavior. Lila burst into a rage and, with a look of hate he had never seen in her eyes, slapped Max hard across the face. He was stunned. He didn't know his little love was capable of such violence. At that moment, he awoke to the possibility that it might be over. For the better part of a year, Lila had been steadily urging for them to move from New York to California, but Max was possessed of all the contemporary New York reasons not to do so. Everyone in California was crazy. California was going to fall into the Pacific. Charles Manson lived in California, and worst of all, Max's mother lived there. But when the show ended, he thought it might be a valiant thing to pacify Lila and try to save their marriage. And when he announced that he was willing to make the move, she said, "California? I don't want to move to California." "But you said," Yeah, I know, but all right, fine. Drop me and the kids at my mother's in New Hampshire for the summer. You drive out, you get us a place to live, we'll fly out when it's all settled. And that's what happened. Max drove all their stuff out to the Golden State, rented a house, and waited for his family to arrive. In 6 weeks, Lila flew out with the girls, stayed for a somewhat strained 4 days, after which she returned to the East for 3 more weeks of the pirate show. Oh yes, with Lila now in the lead. She left Max with $300 in the bank, 2 little girls to feed and care for, and poof, vanished. Disappeared. No contact, no trace, and no way to find her. This was before cell phones, kids. The only other thing she left behind besides the girls was her diary. But Max was an honorable man, and he felt honorable men don't read other people's diaries. But after trying to track Lila down for 3 months to no avail, leaving multiple messages with her friends and getting no response, he decided one night that the diary might shed some light on her whereabouts and his present condition, meaning whether he was still married or not. So Max threw honor aside and he read the secret pages, wherein he discovered that for the past year she had been carrying on an affair with one of his best friends. Watch out for best friends. They're not always what they seem. Oh, Max's heart snapped. It broke into a sad, wet pile of heart chunks right in his chest. He'd been a chump. The manipulation and betrayal that he felt, combined with his grief and the fear of his solo responsibility for the 2 little ones without employment, help, or support in an alien world, was agonizing. Max realized he was dumped, a jilted, rejected, uninformed dupe, the trusting fool of someone who had cleverly planned her every move, including the diary. So poor Max was gutted. He was in emotional agony. He had to put on a brave, cheery face for the little girls who every day asked when Mommy was coming back. He fed, nurtured, and loved them, washed their clothes, found them a cheerful school to attend. He read them stories every night and tucked them in and kissed them good night. He tried to create the semblance of a happy family for them. And then he lay on his mattress in the living room, sobbing in the dark while they slept the sleep of the innocent. Well, after a few months of this, he awoke one night out of a sound sleep, middle of the night, in tears. Oh, yes, Max was feeling very sorry for himself. He was actually crying in his sleep. Well, that was the last straw. Finally, he had had enough. What is your problem, he asked himself. What's going to fill this hole in your guts, pal? Because you are done with this suffering and moaning. No more whining. Stop it. Did you ever get to a point like that yourself? With yourself? It's a good place to be, actually. And here's where we come to the lesson in the whole tale, all right? Max's conversation with Max went something like this. What do you need that you don't have? Well, I guess love. Whose love? Not hers. We know who she is now, even if she walked in the door. You wouldn't want her back, so whose love? You don't know anybody here. Well, I guess I have to love myself. Wow, there's a concept. How do you do that? Well, he thought, if I love somebody else, how would I show them? I'd say nice things to them, I'd buy nice presents, I'd hug them and kiss them and tell them how wonderful they were and how much I loved them. Well, pal, you better start doing that to yourself. What? Yeah, right now. Get up. Go in that bathroom. Look in that mirror and you tell yourself that you love you. So Max pulled himself up off of his crybaby bed at 3 o'clock in the morning and went into the bathroom, snapped on the glaring overhead light and stared at his ugly, swollen-eyed, weepy face and said, I love you. Max kissed his hands and patted them over his bloodshot eyes. He hugged himself and said over and over, I love you, Max. I love you, Max. I love you, Max. I love you, Max. He kissed both his hands, rubbed his face, and hugged himself, declaring his love for himself, something he had never done in his life. He also created a mantra for himself. He looked at his bloodshot, weepy eyes in the mirror and repeated, I can do it. 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 I can get better. I can get through this. I can get better. I can survive. I can make a happy life for all of us. I can do it. I can do it. I can do it. Again and again and again. And his only concern was that the girls might wander in and catch him in the midst of this ridiculous ritual and think Daddy had finally totally lost his wacko mind. But it sure helped. It made him feel better. So, whiny Max, broke and broken-hearted with nothing to fall back on, set out to practice this routine every day for 5 minutes without fail. I love you and I can do it. name. I love you, Max, and I can do whatever it is you want to do. I can do that thing. Put that thing in there. The surprising thing is that within a few short weeks, miracles started happening. A complete stranger knocked on his door one morning to announce that a commercial would be shooting down the street the next day and apologizing for any inconvenience. And they got talking, and when he discovered that Max was an actor and a real actor, he sent him down to be cast in the commercial. And Max got his first acting job in California. And after that, Max soon became friendly with several young ladies who seemed to find him attractive, and before long he had a couple girlfriends and was going out on dates and what. And the women loved helping out with his little girls. They loved those little girls because those little girls were wonderful. Then another job came, and another job, and another one after that. And after nearly a year, he finally managed to track down Lila on the East Coast, who naturally had run off with the writer, wrecking his marriage in the process. But she said she wasn't really ready to care for kids yet because she had to find herself, whatever that meant. But that was okay with Max. He didn't need her anymore. She was no longer his own best friend and his true love. He was. All ego aside. He didn't need to tell her that he had jobs and relationships and money and was doing just fine. He certainly didn't want to make it sound too inviting to her. And after about a year, though, he did suggest to her that she had a responsibility to her daughter, who was heading rapidly for puberty, and Max did not feel that it was his place to inform this sweet young lady whom he adored about tampons and female things and the like. Anyway, long story longer, the point of this meandering narrative is that no matter what, you must learn to love yourself. And I don't think it's easy. I'm not saying it is. It's something we as humans do not practice as a rule. We hear always, well, I'm my own worst enemy. Well, hey, how about, hey, I'm my own best friend? What a concept. I love me. I'm a good person. I do no intentional harm. And whatever I have in mind as a goal, I can do it. 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 How's that for a mantra? I give this to you. I'm assigning you the task of practicing this exercise for 5 minutes a day for 1 week. Only 5 minutes, only 1 week, and then leave a comment below afterwards. Watch for the results in your feelings and in your life and tell me what has happened to you. Don't tell anyone about it while you're doing it. You keep it our secret. Hammer it like a nail into your consciousness. And it's a mirror exercise, and remember, when we do a mirror exercises, we do them how? Alone. I love you, your name. I love you, your name. I love you, Max. 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 Look in your eyes and say, whatever it is, I can do it. I can do it. I can do it. Want to be a ballerina? I can do it. I can be a ballerina. 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 I've got a long story connected with that one. I'll tell you, if no one's ever seen the Trocadero Gloxinia Ballet, they are amazing. They're all men with beards. They look like men, but they're in tutus and tap shoes, and they are going at it for real, and they are good. It's an amazing thing. It's weird to see because it goes against everything that we know as classic French ballet, but it is classic French ballet just with hairy guys. It's bizarre, but it's wonderful. And they can do it. And they can do it. And you can do whatever you want to do. Okay, in private, in the mirror, every day, use it over and over relentlessly. Try it out for 1 week. Feel it and feel it and feel it in you. See what happens. I can do it. 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 I love you. I love you. I love you. I love you. 5 minutes. You'd be amazed how long 5 minutes can be. And be sensitive to what you're feeling. Yeah, enough, right? Okay. Well, that's it for this vlog. Thanks for checking in. If you have any suggestions or there's a subject you'd like to have addressed, please email us at actingmasteryonline@gmail.com. And please like and subscribe and hit the notifications button so you can be among the first to know new developments. And if you think of someone who would benefit by what we're doing here, please share this link with them. And until we're together again, I wish you peace, all success, in all of your works. Maintain good health, happiness, and total self-confidence. Remember, you are the artist.